Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video.
They weren't bad kids, but their families hate America, and they think socialism is the law of consecration, and so they come here with that mentality, right? So, and they also think guns are a very, very bad thing because that's what they've been taught for generations down there now, and so they don't come here with the same idea of supporting this Constitution, and so you're seeing that watering down, and that's why I want to get into it because are people coming here who want a better life? Yeah, doggone right there are. But what else is coming, and how do we do this? How do we vet that? And how can we make a system that can allow migration that we can handle and allow people that opportunity for a better life at the same time? You just can't open your borders, right?
And those people that do come in have to assimilate, right? So, I just talked to a friend of ours here recently that she just passed the exam, for citizenship. And I remember when my wife did, those are wonderful things. You get excited, but and you understand things, like the Constitution and why it was written, and that liberty and justice for all, this great experiment that happened over 200 years ago, it has set the precedents for this world stage for politics. Now politics are trying to take that over and change things. But we have to keep that Constitution going here in the U.S.
Well, just look at how much politics trying to step in at this point. And from this, we'll just jump into Book of Mormon. I don't want to get too much off in politics today. I know we don't have a lot of time today, but
it's related,
But it's all related. And if we don't understand one, we don't know how to make the spiritual decisions on the other, right? And so that's why Joseph. This podcast we should just call ourselves Section 88, 77 through 81. Because this is pretty much where the boundaries that we operate in is trying to do research so we have better understanding, so we can better understand the scriptures. And if we do this research of the things that are out there, the other countries, the wars, and so forth, and the politics of other countries too, then we understand the Book of Mormon better. And let's roll into that right now. We can roll into, because we don't have a whole lot of time, but we can roll into, let's go into Alma. What do you want to do? 48 or do you want to do 46?
We talked about 46 last night,
Let's go 46 first. Let's go 46. And where are we gonna go? We're gonna go 12 here. 46, 12. Yeah. So look, I'll just kind of read here too. I guess we could have fed Walter this information and had him put up on the screen, but I'm just gonna go through it here. So we're going to talk about General Moroni, and you've got this aspired to be king because he wanted power and authority, right? And I'm just going to say this, just a quick side note. For me to repent when I was an executive, right, and for me to walk away from everything and turn everything over, and these things that I was outlining last night, I stayed up till like 2 a.m. I got your messages. Actually, I was just inspired to write. I finally could figure out how to write that portion of my life. I've been working on that for like 5 years. I got to that point. I think, how do I write this? How do I present this? Good. And last night, it just kind of, it was at work yesterday, and I thought, I got to write this down before I go to bed. And I got to get to bed because I got to get up at 5 for this podcast. And I thought, if I don't write it down, I'll lose it. I felt this was prompted. And the things that came to me as I was writing it out, I thought this is exactly the way to go. And I was able to write it chapter for chapter all the way through. I just got to think, okay, how do I reduce this down? This is going to be a 1,000-page book.
Right.
But here's the thing that, the little bit of power I had and the little bit of recognition I had there, it didn't take much. You're in your country of 4 million people. It doesn't take much to become somebody there. Right. And I wasn't, this renowned person down there, just in my circle in that area. Mm-hmm. People knew me as Don Eddie.
But you stuck out.
Yeah. Well, and I stuck out because I'm American, and I got the nice cars, and that kind of thing. Comparatively, it wasn't that I had these exotic vehicles. It's just had an Avalanche, a nice
For
Avalanche,
them, yeah.
a cheap Mercedes and things of that nature. But that was all part of what we needed to do too for our what we did for work. We had to have that. It's like we were in real estate, basically real estate and development. And so you have to have that success look. And so that stuck out too. But so we had this because we had money come through. We had the politicians, eating out of our hands because they wanted support.
Mm-hmm.
My point being that it was hard for me to walk. One of the biggest addictions for me to walk away from was the addiction of the money and the power. And being recognized as somebody in power, right? And that was hard for me to give up, really hard for me to give up. But I don't want to jump on that. I want to go over here. I just want to mention that as a side note for what's taking place today in the world and why there's such a hungry effort. Always, Karl Marx before onward. Yeah, it never stops, right? So let's jump into this. Let's take verse 12. So let's just jump into what General Moroni, he goes out first and he prepares everybody in their homes, right? So they're ready to prepare the homes. Uh-huh. Then they start to fortify the cities, right? And now remember, the missionary efforts have recently collapsed.
Yeah.
Okay? We come to a point where there's just no dialogue anymore. It's just the other side just doesn't want to hear it. And we're at that same impetus today, right?
Yeah. People don't want to hear about God,
And now obviously there was going to be rumors of wars because Moroni wouldn't have been preparing for them if there wasn't rumors of wars.
Mm-hmm.
There's rumors of a war going on between, and I'm going to say this to be if you would, a civil war, type of a civil war, because I believe they were of the same people, the same family, of the same blood. Oh, that's right. They were. Right. They were all of Lehi's children.
And Moroni instructs his people to prepare for war, so you have to.
And he does. And I don't want to go into that today. What I want to go into is why they were to prepare and what they were to defend, right? And I think that needs, and I'd like to just summarize with how do we do that today, right? And then we'll be done with our podcast today. Jeff's got to get going. So we go to 12, and it came to pass that he rent his coat. This is Moroni. So he took it, a piece of thereof, and he wrote upon it, in memory of our God, our religion, and freedom, and our peace, and our wives, and our children. And he fastened it upon the end of a pole, and he fastened on his headplate and on his breastplate and his shields, and girded up his armor about his loins. And he took the pole which he had on the end thereof and rent his coat, and he called it the title of liberty.
Yeah.
And he bowed himself to the earth, and he prayed mightily to his God for the blessings of liberty to rest upon his brethren, so long as there should be a band of Christians, and that's who they were called, by the way, those who believed in Christ, a band of Christians to remain there to possess the land. So I want to unpack a little bit here, Jeff. Let's back up here, bud, and let's unpack this. So first of all, he fastens on his head plate, his breastplate. He's putting on all his armor, right? He rips his coat. He writes on there, hey, in memory of my wives, our family, our property, our religion, our God, right? And he goes out there, and now we can go on in chapter 48. We're going to realize he rallies. He goes out. He basically gets on his horse and he runs through, and he's going through, and he's, I imagine this big, beautiful black stallion, right? And the funny thing was he's just running through the neighborhoods, and he's trying to get everybody get your armor, get everybody together. Well, man, that would be considered a right-wing conspiracy, I think, right now. That would be some sort of extremist group out there today, because I can see General Moroni today in a probably a big 4x4 with a big American flag posted, flying out the back of it, drive around with his loudspeaker saying, with all of his tactical gear on, saying, come on, guys, let's all get together. We got to form a community militia here to defend ourselves if something comes down. Well, right now in the Senate right now, they are discussing a bill. The Senate is. Remember, the Congress makes the laws. The Senate makes sure it fits the Constitution. Senate doesn't write law, and they are writing law now to propose it to Congress that would make it so that we could not congregate to train or prepare at all. We would be considered a type of militia, state militia. You cannot, like when BLM drove into Blackfoot, Idaho, and people were standing with their guns alongside of law enforcement, that will be a federal crime to be able to gather and do that. So these guys teaching these tactical courses and so forth, if you're going to take those courses, take them quick, because they're going to become outlawed most likely this year. Now, that will also mean that we'll probably breach into martial arts studios, et cetera, and dojos, because they are training in self-defense. I lived in these countries where they stripped you of your self-defense. When that attempted kidnap my daughter was there, I thought, well, what would I have done? Well, obviously I was going to defend her, to defend my daughter, but the country didn't allow that. And that's what we're going to right now.
Right.
So we
Costa
as
Rica
Americans
was like that. Costa Rica was like that. Costa Rica was that way as well. They didn't want you to defend your property. You're supposed to call the police and let them do that, but they never show up on time. And there's that whole thing.
But Costa Rica, I had my gun carrying. I had my gun permit. Costa Rica did. I don't know if they still do today or not.
No, they still do. You have to get, you got to pass their, mental exam. But other than that,
that how much does that cost?
Yeah, $100.
Well, it's probably more than that now. Since we've left, I think they've got a little more sophisticated. But it's still there, And that's one thing we're going to do too. In this trip was I'm actually going to come up with some people that are going to actually go through the borders. I just talked to an attorney in Costa Rica a couple of days ago, asking about certain things, and an area I want to do some interviews. I'm going to go do some interviews at Del Rey, and we'll go on that off air. Why? Because I want to show what's coming. I want to show what kind of migration gathers and what comes from these migrations and how they make their money, and tell a story of a friend of mine named Doug. I won't go into last names, who's dead today because of one of those stories of a heart attack, because his family got destroyed because of it. Right. And how evil some of these girls were, and how they destroyed his family, trying to just basically take him for money, and when he decided it wasn't going to happen anymore, they found his wife here in the States and destroyed his family. And he died of a heart attack because he lost his family at a scouting event, right? About a couple years later. And that heart attack is due to the stress he went under trying to get his family back. He was at a scouting event with his son in the water, playing with his son and the other kids, and he had a heart attack and died. Very sad story. Very nice guy, but he got wrapped up into the story. It's a very, very bleeding heart story, and you fall into it, and people are falling into the same stories coming across the border right now. And some of those stories are true, but most of them aren't, unfortunately. And that's not my point I want to get into. What I want to get to right now is, let's unpack this. So we have this guy who puts on all this battle gear, right? Hey, he's stoked. He's ready to go. But yet he's still full of love. Remember this. He's going to keep his love. He doesn't want to do this, but now the time's coming, he has to do it. So what's he going to go and defend?
Liberty.
Well, let's break it down. So we're going to go and in memory of our God and our religion. So for the fact that he's trying to defend the freedom of religion, without freedom of religion, that's number one. Yeah. God's first, right? You got to have that freedom of religion.
Which I found out on my website, that people are attacking me for my book because, it's about God. And I didn't realize that 20% of my commenters were going to be anti-religion and don't believe that I should be able to speak about religion, So we're in this problem, even, and it's not insignificant, I mean, these are some people, and I do respond to them, the ones that I can, as loving as I possibly can, and show that there's a different way of thinking. But these are people that believe that to speak about religion, that it should be illegal, and they want to make it. They want to make it illegal.
World Economic Forum this last month, but one of their meetings, and remember, these are the people moving and shaking this whole woke agenda. And remember, woke is the body, and it's got various heads, right? The LGBTQ.
Some of them are bots as well. You can pick them out,
Yeah, but I'm just talking about what's promoting the whole agenda here is the World Economic Forum. They were given teeth in 2019 by the United Nations. And this is the whole 2015 United Nations.
And that's my point, is that there's an underhanded, this whole idea that people can't talk about religion. And they would employ bots, and that's, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I'm being attacked here. I'm like, some of these aren't even real people. And where is this coming from? Why is somebody so, invested in this anti-God, theology, that they have to attack my little website and go against me, so, and it's just, mean-hearted kind of stuff. And,
5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes. So stay with us, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.